Here are the main flaws in this argument. First of all, I would suggest that the results shown by the author are all very subjective in nature rather than quantifiable. He says the dropout rate reduced, fewer leaves, multiple students. So these are very subjective results to say. Whether the change was actually significant is something that does not come out very clearly in the author's argument. Relative comparison missing in multiple students figured among the top 50 in the citywide list. This is one important point that the author mentions, but it says multiple students. It does not say that more number of students appeared. So multiple students appeared, but maybe that last year more number of students appeared. So that more is important rather than saying multiple, because it is possible that multiple students figured, but still the total number of students dropped. Very important flaw, this one. Can these changes be attributed to the program? Very important flaw, as often is the case on the GMAT analytical writing, that they say something, they say a result, but they fail to draw a causal relationship. So whether there is a correlation, this is not just coincidence, needs to be very clearly elucidated. And then very importantly, was everything else the same? Again, a very important flaw on the GMAT, that was everything else the same? What if this improvement happened because of other factors such as better quality of faculty or higher awareness among the parents or things like that? Author did not suggest that everything else in the environment remained the same and this was the only significant step taken by the school. What was the status of sports activities in Bridgewell earlier? So they introduced this program, but the author does not mention that earlier the exposure to sports for the students was relatively less. So this is a very important point again, that maybe they gave the name to a program, but the school anywhere inspired students to involve in sports. So a relative comparison of sports activities before the program and after the program is important to be able to reach the conclusion that the author has reached. Then the recommendation to enhance the students' involvement in sports lack reasoning. Further enhance. They have started one program and now the author is saying that keep on involving the students more and more into sports. So where do we end? Is there really a need or scope for enhancement in sports, and whether further involvement will curb on their academic focus is something that the author has not talked about. Of course, the author has assumed that further involvement into sports will result in further enhancement of the performance of students. You can use this as a separate point or you can club it with the previous point. So these are the major flaws in this reasoning, and a good structure would be when you have a very clear introduction which suggests the reason, the main stand of yours, which must always be that the argument is not convincing. So have a very clear introduction suggesting that the argument is not convincing in the way it is. Then for each flaw that you have found, if you have found 5 flaws, have 5 paragraphs, 1 paragraph for each flaw that you have determined, and then have a very clear conclusion suggesting that on the basis of the analysis above, this argument is not convincing in the way it is. This would give a good structure to your essay, and this would make the algorithm as well as the human judging your essay an impression that you have given a very logical approach to your reasoning and that you have been able to identify these many flaws. Remember, structure is very important in analytical writing. Don't merge 2 flaws to form 1 paragraph. Have a different para every time. So this was the analysis to this one. I hope this was helpful.